Hey y'all, I'm Dan Hamilton, Marine Corps veteran and host of the Next Gen Warrior Show. On behalf of Chairman George P. Bush and our staff at the Texas Veterans Land Board, we are proud every Monday to be joined by veterans to discuss their success after the military. To be able to have veterans from different armed service branches across many different industries allows us an opportunity to provide lessons learned and guidance for those in the armed forces who will be leaving the service in the coming years. Today, I am joined by Mary Ann Hotaling. She is Ms. Veteran America 2020. She has an incredible life of service that she's going to share with us today, and really her passion for serving women homeless veterans to ensure that they are not sleeping on the streets, that we can get them back into community and provide them the resources that they so deserve. Mary Ann, it's so great to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So tell us, before we get into the work that you've done and really your passion for serving in the community, can you tell us about your military service?
Absolutely. After I graduated college, I joined the U.S. Army, and my branch was the Medical Service Corps. My first duty assignment was with the 1st Cavalry Division, which I purposely requested. I wanted to serve with 1st Cav at Fort Hood, Texas, where my first job as a second lieutenant was as an ambulance platoon leader. I went on to deploy to Bosnia-Herzegovina back in 1998, where we were on a peacekeeping mission. While I was over there, I was asked if I would help teach a college class to enlisted soldiers through Central Texas College. And I think that's where my love for teaching actually began. I never had the intention of becoming a teacher eventually, but I think that's what sparked it. So back to the military service. After Fort Hood, Texas, I was stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, where I ended up serving as the Chief of Military Personnel at William Beaumont Army Medical Center.
So I'm interested to know what the classes that you were teaching like. Was it just in a tent? Were you out in the field? Were
Yes.
you doing training exercises? Can you give me some context for that?
Yeah, it was actually a couple classes, college algebra, and also a couple of introduction English classes for enlisted soldiers that were pursuing their college degree, but they needed some prep classes that they could take while deployed. So when they came back to the States, they could get started on their career or their degree.
Yeah, and this is where, you mentioned that before you joined the Army, I think you actually were doing theater and you were doing kind of art, right? So
right.
Did you have any idea that you wanted to be a teacher, or did you get up in front of the class and start teaching and a light bulb went on?
It was pretty much a light bulb that went on. Like I told you previously, growing up, I did a lot of theater. Living 20 minutes outside of New York City, that's where I was born and raised. There are wonderful opportunities for that. So a lot of singing and dancing and playing the piano growing up. And then when it was my senior year of high school, I applied for as many scholarships as possible. Because of our family financial situation, I knew I would have to put myself through college. And the spring of my senior year, I earned a college ROTC scholarship, and then also a full ride for a music degree at a school that's very well known for their music program. And I knew that was a choice. Which road was I going to take? Continue with a music career or venture into the military? And I just followed my heart. I knew I wanted to serve my country. My father is from Portugal and my mother's from Brazil, and they were just so proud to be new Americans, and they raised me to be a very proud first generation American. So to me, it was a way I could give back to my country for all the opportunities this country gave my family.
Well, that's really an incredible and inspiring story. So tell us about then your kind of, I think that patriotism and that desire to serve is something that followed you after the military too. Tell us about your transition out of the military, maybe the bumps or the bruises along the road, but also, what kept you motivated, what kept you focused, and how you ultimately, adapted to civilian life.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I would have stayed in the military forever. I loved my time in the military. A couple of bumps, but that's with any career. I think some of those bumps are wonderful lessons learned, and we could discuss some of those later if you like. But one of the driving forces I left the military was by then I was married and we had a young son, and we thought that the challenges of being a dual military couple and raising a child was something that we didn't want to take on. And we admire and respect the dual military couples that do make it work. But we knew we weren't going to be that couple. So when I got out of the military, I was recruited by a few, as you know, because you're in the military, a lot of those junior, job recruiters. And I initially was given a job with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. But shortly after that, I realized if I got out of the military to have a more consistent schedule for our son, then Pfizer wasn't the answer. I should have just stayed in the military if that was the case. So after teaching a college course or two in Bosnia, I thought, I really enjoyed teaching. And I think that that's a job that I could take with me wherever my husband is stationed, because he continued with his military career. And that's what made me become a school teacher. So at first, I did not become a school teacher because of my love of teaching. That wasn't it. But now here we are 18 years later, and I can't imagine having anything else as my second career. I love teaching. I love children. It's my passion, and I'm going to continue to do it as long as I can, physically and emotionally. I want to continue teaching.
Yeah, and I know, we're so grateful for teachers like you who are so dedicated to the classroom and so dedicated to the children. Can you tell us maybe a little bit what it's been like for yourself, as well as maybe some of the other administrators and teachers that you've been working with this year? Some of my friends are teachers, and they certainly are doing really great work to try to make sure that their students are able to learn remotely, and they're learning some really incredible lessons, I think, although it's very difficult. But I'm interested to know what your experience has been like.
Absolutely. Here in Alabama, that's where we live right now. I've been here for a year, a little over a year. I have more of an administrator role here in Alabama, but overall, it's definitely been a challenge for educators. We've had to become very creative with virtual instruction during the pandemic. But teachers are resilient people. They are, and that resilience that comes before this pandemic ever came to be. Just being able to juggle that relationship between parents and administrators and the students, and really to key in that we're all on the same team. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that child's education, and that's the goal, making sure that our kids are learning and that all their needs are being met outside of education. In many ways, we do become the second mamas and second papas to these kids. And I can't imagine doing any other job right now.
Can I go back though and ask you a little bit about that transition moment that you had from working at Pfizer and then deciding that you were going to go into teaching, and what was the thought process like? What was the discussion with the family like? One thing that post-military life is full of is making your own decisions, sometimes for the first time, especially if you're, a young man and woman who spent the formative, 4, 6, 8 years in the military, for the most part, following the decisions and the commands of your command. To be able to take your career into your own hands for the first time is really exhilarating, but it can be a little nerve-wracking as well. So did you feel confident leaving and going into the classroom, or was there a little bit of trepidation?
It's funny that you asked me that, because someone asked me about that the other day, and it was 18 years ago, and it was just so random it came up in conversation. To say that the position that I accepted with Pfizer was a very, very nice job. It was a very coveted position. So I know many people thought I was a little bit crazy to turn down the job with Pfizer.
How long had you been there for?
Not very long at all. I mean, I got out of the military. I was recruited to do this job with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. My husband, Andy, was deployed at the time, and I was home with our then 1.5-year-old. And as I'm getting my car and my computer and getting all situated for this new career with Pfizer, I just had this aha moment in my kitchen in El Paso, Texas. And I thought to myself, this is not what I want to do in the long run. This is not my next chapter. And it was a tough decision to make, but it was my decision to make with the support of my husband, and we collectively deciding what's best for our family. And there's been no regrets, absolutely none, about that decision. Now, being a school teacher, it was very humbling at first. And I remember a couple of times telling my husband, my goodness, I think we got more respect in the military than as an educator. But I've learned to love it. I went back to school for my master's degree in education leadership, so I could do administration as well. And there has been no regrets at all. I just can't imagine doing something more honorable especially today in America, helping our most precious resource excel in the long run, our children. It's just something I really enjoy doing every day.
That's really incredible. And that's something that here on the show, we love hearing so much from veterans, because I want to make sure, and I know you feel the same way, that veterans who get out of the military, if you take a stab at something and it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the road. Like, there's so many opportunities out there for veterans. And I'm glad you shared that story, because you have to try and fail when you get out of the military, or else you won't know which road that you want to go down for the long run, like you did.
Exactly. And I really do believe in gut checks, head and gut checks. It didn't feel right, my first decision. So, why keep going down a road that just didn't feel right to me? Not just for me personally, but for my family. And, you gotta trust that head and gut check. And I'm glad that I did.
So let's pivot here for a second, because I want to talk about Ms. Veteran America, and I want to talk about Final Salute Inc. Y'all are doing really incredible work to provide resources and programs for homeless women veterans across the nation.
Yes,
so
sir.
One, if you can give us kind of an introduction to it, and then I'm interested to know kind of about what brought you to want to apply and then take part in running for Ms. Veteran America.
Sure. Well, Final Salute Inc. is a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to obtain safe and suitable housing for homeless women veterans. Homeless women veterans is the fastest growing population of homelessness in America. Right now, we have approximately 55,000 homeless women veterans in America, and that's just unacceptable, and the number keeps rising. Especially in the age of the pandemic, those numbers are increasing at a very alarming rate. So it was founded in 2010 by Jas Booth. She's our founder. And she founded it after she found herself homeless, a single mother, homeless with a small child. And she went to organizations that were supposed to help her. And the best advice that she got from any of the organizations was, well, you can always go on welfare. And she thought to herself, I proudly served my country. I'm not asking for handouts. I just need a little temporary help so I could get back on my feet and provide, suitable housing for my son and me. And I want to continue working. So that's when it sparked in her to start this nonprofit organization to help other female veterans that found themselves in the same situation as her. So again, it was founded in 2010, and then in 2012, she created Miss Veteran America as a fundraiser for Final Salute Inc. And she thought, what better representatives for this program than other women veterans that are willing to be ambassadors for their sister warriors and help them out. So that's how Miss Veteran America came about, and it's been around for 8 years, over 8 years now.
Yeah, that's it's really incredible. We've had the opportunity to sit down with Navir Welkowitz, as well as my great friend here in the Austin area, Molly Mae Potter, and you guys are really doing some really incredible work and really important work
Thank
at
you.
the grassroots level to make sure that these women are able to find, like you said, suitable housing. So, how did you come into deciding that you were interested and that you wanted to apply? Because it's not referred to as a pageant, right? Am I right in using the word maybe contest,
Uh,
or is
It,
that a better
it
word?
is it is a competition, and I found out about it back in 2012. I actually competed in it in its inaugural year in 2012. And this is not something I really brought up a lot this year, but I grew up doing pageants. I was Miss New Jersey National Teenager. I competed in the Miss America preliminaries. So I'm familiar with the pageant world. So in 2012, when I heard about this, it intrigued me. And I really had a good time. I went to the national competition. I was in the top 10, and I just had a wonderful experience. And I didn't know a lot about Final Salute then. And I remember that weekend really sparked something in me. And I wanted to continue following Final Salute Inc.'s journey. And for the last 8 years, I've been promoting the organization and supporting it, and never thinking I was going to compete again. Again, one of the lines I used a lot this year, and I really mean it. I'm 44 and I love carbs. Like, I wasn't going to do a competition or a pageant or anything like that.
So you actually decided you had made up your mind that you weren't going to go back and
No, I was never going to compete again. I loved the program. I had a great time my first year, but no, I had no intention of competing. So fast forward to 2020, and registration actually opens up in January. Then COVID happened, and then we're sitting around here in May, and I reached out to the director of the competition, Denise, and asked her if I could help at nationals. If she needs an extra set of hands to help out at nationals, I'd be willing to pay my way to travel there and just volunteer in any way possible. And that's when a few friends of ours suggested I compete again. And Denise said, "Hey, Marianne, you can compete one other time if you've already competed. Why not compete?"
did you tell her
So,
that door was already shut, or did she did she have to knock that door open for you? And
well, I honestly, Dan, it didn't even dawn on me to compete again. It just really, it didn't. Uh, However, in the year of the COVID, where we're all sick of COVID, but COVID is not sick of us yet, I just feel like there's not a lot I can do um, on the front line of COVID except protect my family and do what I can to protect others around me. That's all I can do with COVID. With everything else that's been going on in our country, all the national tensions, again, I feel what I can do is raise my family in a way that we're respectful to all people. And that's what I can do. But I thought, my
so it was
goodness.
really. Can I just stop you real quick?
Yeah.
Was it really kind of the external events were actually what moved
Right.
you to say, okay, I got to find a way
To help. Yeah, there's got to be something extra I can do here. We're, again, like I said before, we've been here in Alabama for a year, so we're settled in. We're empty nesting. We have one son. He's off to college. I said, there's got to be something else I can do to help my community, both regionally and nationally. So when my friend suggested that I compete again, and Denise said, "Hey, you could compete one more time," I said, "You know what? Why not?" So I actually entered the competition pretty late. I entered it on May 19th. I decided to start my campaign for Miss Veteran America. So, I mean, that's the reason why I decided to compete this year. I wanted to do something outside of my home that I could still help others. So when I made the top 25 national finalist list, we were told that the competition would have to go virtually. And do we still want to proceed in the competition? Because there's not going to be the big weekend and the shiny dresses. And, it's a fun weekend. We're there for a purpose, but it's a fun weekend. And I still remember my response to our director. I said, I didn't enter this competition for a fun sequence filled weekend. I entered this competition to make a change. I didn't enter this competition for a crown. You know, had I not placed at all, I still would have felt fulfilled because of all the advocating I did for our homeless women veterans. So even though, you know, people say, Marianne, you've done so much for our homeless women veterans this year, I feel I got a lot out of it. It made me feel even more complete than I imagined.
Yeah, can you tell us maybe a little bit, how much did the competition that you entered initially, did it help you at all this time, or was it so much different because you weren't able to be around the other women and because you weren't be able to do it in person? Was there a whole lot of you know, experience that you were able to use, or was it actually almost kind of felt totally new again?
Yeah. If we're going to put all our cards on the table, I think when I when I competed in 2012, I think I treated it like a pageant.
Mm.
Still had a great time, loved it, but I treated it like a pageant. And this year, I did not treat it like a pageant at all. It was a campaign. I was running for an office. I was applying for a job position. I was applying to become the national ambassador for our homeless women veterans. And I think because I treated it that way, and because I think in our community, because it all went virtually because of COVID, all our campaigning and, you know, raising funds and raising advocacy for our homeless women veterans had to be done, you know, on the computer, on social media, on the phone, not in person. And I think the fact that a lot of the people that contributed to my campaign said, you know, one of the reasons why we supported you is you never mentioned Miss Veteran America. Very rarely did you mention that you were competing in a competition. You always talked about Final Salute Inc. You talked about the statistics of our homeless women veterans. We kind of forgot you were competing for Miss Veteran America, and I was happy to hear that. And that made my heart happy, because ultimately that was the goal. The goal was trying to. I wanted to raise enough money to be able to house homeless female veterans for over 1,000 nights, because it's $25 a night is the operating cost, the daily operating cost, to house a homeless female veteran and her children and feed them. And I thought, my goodness gracious, if I could break the record for this competition and raise enough money during the pandemic, and raise enough to house a homeless female veteran or veterans for over 1,000 nights, I'm already walking away a winner, even if I came in last place. So,
well, first of all, congratulations on that, and
you.
congratulations and thank you really for all of the hard work and the advocacy that you're doing. I,
Thank
I was
you.
I was interested to know. We've seen, you know, in the last especially 10 to 15 years, a real I don't want to call it a trend, but I think a tremendous amount of awareness and resources going into the veterans community. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the successes you're seeing, or maybe what are some of the ways that you are seeing these programs and resources meet these women where they are, and try to give them, you know, a hand up to get their feet back under them?
Sure. I want to answer that in two parts, regionally and nationally, if that's okay. Well, I think regionally, programs like Miss Veteran America and Final Salute Inc., having the finalists going out there and educating the public about this epidemic happening in our country. It's amazing how many people didn't even know this was an issue in our country. So I think the first part is making people aware that this is even happening in our country. I think the second part is educating them on the statistics. How did this become an epidemic in our country? And then telling them about the resources that organizations like Final Salute Inc. offer to these women veterans. I think nationally, having something like Final Salute Inc. that's addressing this, and we're talking to people in our government that can make the change that we need in our country, talking to our senators, talking to our congressmen and congresswomen that can help build bills and acts that could help our homeless female veterans get the suitable housing that they deserve. Because right now, a lot of the programs that we have in place in our country are geared towards male veterans.
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
lot of them do not fit the need of women veterans who have young children with them. Over 70% of our homeless women veterans are single moms. And a lot of these transitional homes don't even allow children in those homes. And if they do allow children, they have to be a certain age. So it's not conducive to a mother with her children to receive this help. They don't, it doesn't work for them. So I think that having programs like Final Salute Inc. That addresses this and is making everyone aware that this is an issue, I think that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that, and I love that. The compassion that's being brought to these women to try to provide them a stable place to
Sure.
live and a place for their families as well to be able to get the help that they need. So I'm interested in kind of hearing on a personal level how you seem to be willing to to advocate and take on some really important key issues in the veterans community. In what ways do you keep yourself motivated? In what ways do you keep yourself focused when there are so many challenges really out there that you are trying to advocate for and help bring solutions to?
I think that's a great question. I think it's something deeper than me being Miss Veteran America. I think it's deeper than me recognizing that this is a problem in our country. It's the way I was raised. My mother and father, my father has since passed away, but my mother and father have always wanted me to give back to the community, and I saw them model that for me. They were always giving back to their community, and watching them and having them as my role models was a big deal. And even watching my big brother, he always gave back to the community as well. And I think having all those role models around me, it's just been ingrained in me to do so. And I'm just going to be honest, I've had a very blessed life.
Yeah.
I have. I've always had a very supportive family unit, a very supportive husband, and no matter where we've been stationed, no matter where, I've been fortunate enough to always have this incredible circle of friends, and a lot of them have been mentors to me as well. And I could not have done this competition without all of their help and their support. So I think it's almost like the good, perfect storm for me. Like, why not? Why wouldn't I help when I have been given so many opportunities and so many blessings that I am able to do so? And, just to add on to that, just here in Alabama, having just been in the position I'm in right now at the school district I'm in right now, I've only been there for a year, and I could not have had more support than I did, even from my workplace, my boss, my boss's boss, my coworkers. So I think having all that in place, great family support, wonderful friends, an amazing work family, why wouldn't I help if I can?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you bring that up, because that's maybe so often on the show we focus on what the individual has done in the way that they either approach their business, or they approach
Right.
their nonprofit, or they have approached their professional life after service. But you brought up a key component, which is you have to make sure that the people around you are pushing you in a direction that you want to
Yeah,
be. And when you have that after the military, then for my 2 cents, the sky is the limit at that point. But
absolutely.
it really is critical to make sure that the family, the friends, and almost to some degree the business community or the
Yeah.
professional community that you put around you is a reflection of you, and will also help you in your trajectory for the things that you want to pursue after the military.
It truly is. And if I could add this, you hear this a lot on social media and mixed conversation. Hey, you got to keep your circle small. You got to keep your circle small. And I respectfully disagree with that. I've always told my close friends, and I absolutely tell our son this all the time, cast a big net.
Yeah.
Cast a big net. And yeah, are you going to get burned every once in a while? Absolutely. But the amount of times that I've been burned, either professionally or personally, it doesn't outweigh all the wonderful people and the wonderful connections and all the amazing networks that I'm a part of, because I casted a big net. So absolutely, you have your small group of friends, but there's nothing wrong with casting that big net. You're going to throw some fish back. That's okay. But by doing that, you're just opening up so many more doors. And I think people just being open to maybe making that circle a little bit bigger. I'm all for that.
Absolutely. Well, Marianne, I want to thank you so much for your time, for being on the program today.
Thank you.
Yeah, before we close up, I just wanted to see if there was any final word that you would like to leave our audience with, maybe something that we didn't get to hit on today, or a way maybe even that people can follow you in your continued journey as Miss Veteran America.
Absolutely. First of all, again, thank you so much for having me today. And I know it's been a difficult time for many, many families in our country. But especially during the holiday season, if anyone is looking to contribute to a nonprofit organization, Final Salute Inc., it's for those homeless women veterans and their children. Please reach out. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to the nonprofit organization and find ways that you could help us out to reach our mission, which is getting as much safe and suitable housing for those veterans as we can.
Awesome. Well, Marianne, thank you again so much for being with us, and thank you all for watching another episode of Next Gen Warrior. Please meet us back here on Monday as we continue to discuss lessons learned, advice, and the incredible examples like Marianne, who set for us today and discussed her process of getting out of the military and her great example of continuing to lead and continuing to serve after the military. We'll see you back here on Monday.
Follow us on Instagram at Voices of Vets, on Twitter at Voice of Veterans, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Voices of Veterans. To hear more, please visit voicesofveterans.org. Join us in sharing the success stories of Texas veterans. Thank you for joining us for the Next Gen Warrior podcast.